This is a stupid fucking video, and based on what I'm rattling off in here, it's something you can't post on TikTok, which is very fucking telling that TikTok is a dumpster fire and people are praising all the wrong things. But what do I know? As usual, you see that teeny little bar at the bottom? That's where I can type a paragraph. Does that look useful to you? Because it's certainly not useful to me. And when I use the speech option on here, and yes, I am complaining about a lot of things because social engineering tactics are alive and well, and most people are blissfully unaware of any of this because they're digesting the latest content and they have their heads up their ass. So when I was using the speech option on here, it would allow me to knock out maybe 5 words, then it would stop, and I had the video playing, mind you, so then the video would play again. And I just wanted to see how often this would happen. It happened a lot. So here's what I just left on here, what I mean to. Let's see. You see what I mean? This is as much as you can fucking see. And then you're bombarded with our master social engineering stickers, which are useless. They're not beneficial to you or I. They're useful to our masters because it's shitting out a bunch of useful idiots. So what I said, and this is poorly written probably, said take a drink every time a Jewish Zionist puppet, and yes, they're synonymous essentially, pops up on your screen. Most of these quote-unquote celebrities are Jewish, and it should be capitalized, but it didn't capitalize it. Google's a drunken fucking... There we go. Despite the fact that supposedly they're a minority, it's a minority, Judaism. I should probably fix that, but it should beg, is what it should say. It should beg many questions, being that in this day and age of quote-unquote representation, how many kids are squawking about that? How many pre-existing characters are, in other words, Malcolm X. Yeah, if another movie is shit out having to do with Malcolm X, a white guy should play it for representation. That's what I'm getting at. I don't think that should happen, but that's just as good as what people are shopping around. If you say that online, and I'm speaking from experience, people will say, Malcolm X was a real person. I'm like, all right, so Black Panther should be played by a white guy. Go fuck yourself. Think. But in the age of representation, no one is squawking about how disproportionate the ratio of Jews and other ethnicities are in Hollywood. Some people will say, yeah, there's not enough black dudes in this. There's not enough this, that, and the other thing. But this should come up because most movies have a lot of fucking Jews in them. Now, I want you to appreciate this too. Not all Jews are bad. I have friends who are Jewish. I mean that. It's wild. But there are some fucked up people pulling our strings, and this is something that should stand out. This should be a red flag. But it's not, because people are oblivious. That's why I'm leaving this on the internet. Fact of the matter is, when you sign up to be a celebrity puppet, a Zionist puppet, it's many-fold, if I'm not mistaken. Some of that shit you guys have probably heard about, signing a contract, so to speak, until the day you're dead. Some of these assholes are sacrificed, blah, blah, blah. Take that with a grain of salt. Take everything I said with a grain of salt. Appreciate that this video is only 12 minutes and 18 seconds. And there's a lot of repeat clips of David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, unfortunately Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy, I can't stand that guy, Kimmel, that guy. Yeah. It's not very long, and yet there could be more honorable mentions in here. But I'll read this again, I'm trying to rework it. Take a drink each time a Jewish Zionist puppet pops up on the screen. Most of these quote-unquote celebrities are Jewish, despite the fact that supposedly Judaism is not only occasionally referred to as, it should say, a minority. I'm still fucking it up. Bear with me a moment. There you go. They're also so darn oppressed. But when it comes to casting agents, just disregard what I last said. It should beg many questions, being that in the day and age of quote-unquote representation, no one is squawking about how disproportionate the ratio of Jews and other ethnicities are in Hollywood. All of these celebrities I mentioned, it's past tense, I suppose, are Jewish. That should be capitalized. Jimmy Kimmel, Martin Short, Steve Martin. And keep in mind, Martin Short and Steve Martin, those are some of the odd ducks. They're up there, so to speak. In other words, when you superficially Google this, you're probably going to get a bunch of fucking bullshit. That's what I'm getting at. Only recently, Harrison Ford's not part of this jazz, but years back, if you Googled, is Harrison Ford Jewish? It didn't bring it up. Now it's bold. It's front and center in terms of Google results. It'll say he came from a Russian Jewish background, blah, blah, blah. Things like that. Back to point. Where was that? Jack Black. A lot of people haven't figured that out. I don't know how they didn't figure that out. Aubrey Plaza. She's, I think it's like 6% Ashkenazi Jew, but she's a Jew. Jonah Hill. That goes without saying. Jon Stewart, same difference. Rodney Dangerfield. For some reason, I always want to call him Robert Downey Jr., but he's also Jewish and not part of this fairly short video. Jimmy Fallon, Lorne Michaels, of Saturday Night Live. Howard Stern is clearly Jewish. Eugene Levy, that's another one that's hard to fucking find, but if you appreciate his age, it's shiesty. But it will claim that he's not, typically speaking, but he is Jewish. Larry David, Larry King, Mel Brooks, obviously, Steven Spielberg, obviously, and Paul Schaefer, related to David Letterman. I kept throwing a comma in here every time somebody popped up, and I feel like somebody didn't pop up in here. Roy Schneider should be in here too, but I don't think I said that one. Well, here, I'll leave it at this. Roy Schneider is another one who's since passed on, to Jewish heaven or whatever the fuck. But online it will claim that he's not Jewish, or he wasn't. Despite the fact that his face looks like what you would see in a dictionary if you looked up bar mitzvah. Yeah, bad jokes. So I said, honorable mentions. Please feel free to tell me. Oh, there it is. Roy Schneider wasn't Jewish. And then down here, if you look up Letterman, one of the quotes you'll find is, Letterman is not Jewish. Of course, there is a small chance that he converted in secret and has kept it to himself. Speculation. Take it as such. Either way, this shit's ridiculous. So many people out there are told that they could be the next president or they could be a big actor one day. It's pretty fucking unlikely. Unless there's nepotism involved or you buy into this horse shit and you kneel to this horse shit. You are subservient to this horse shit. There's a note in the video where they talk about Martin Short losing his wife. And that's something, that's heavy. And that pulls on the heartstrings. And I don't have a bad word to say about that. I don't. You and I would be lucky if we spent a decade with somebody wonderful. We'd be lucky if we fucking spent a year with somebody wonderful the way things are going. It's on par with how long people keep jobs. Usually that is a year turnaround, if that, and it's getting worse. Yeah. So there is that in terms of an emotional, fill in the fucking blank. And he did live through that. And that's pretty fucking rough. But these celebrities who have been in this game long term, misleading people. That's what they're up to. They conduct distraction campaigns. That's what the entertainment shit is. Bread and circuses. That's why we get this shit. That's why our masters openly laugh at us in the programming. But most people don't have eyes to see. So they don't get it. In recent times, our masters are dumbing people down more and more and more, which is why the programming also is bottom of the barrel, superficial, and fucking stupid. So all the stupid kids out there, again, let's talk about TikTok, will say, oh my God, man, like you could just see all this stuff in the programming. And it's because they're spoon feeding it to you now. What they want you to repeat. And a lot of it is muddy propaganda. It's still misleading garbage. But people don't have eyes to see because they're not using the brain between their ears to think. This shit should stand out. But you don't hear people calling this out. You don't hear people complaining about this. It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. And what do I usually say? Complacency got us this far, so that means that you and I are the punchline. Just so you see me doing this, and I should be able to see what I typed. Maybe not every single paragraph, but this is barely a paragraph. Pisses me off. Did it do all the things? Yeah, roughly enough. And I could have capitalized those things, and I forgot. There was something in here I was going to throw in another. I was going to capitalize Jewish, wasn't I? I think that's what it was. But we might just leave it. Yes, fuck it. Make sure it posts. Cool. Double check it, because sometimes it doesn't. And now people will complain at me instead of thinking about this. What the fuck do I know? Oh, by the way, this is one of the numerous accounts that I moderate, and I am censored. Yeah. I wonder why. And that's because I didn't verify myself, because the verification process is in place to pave the way for social credit slavery. But people haven't figured that out because people weren't spoon-fed that. What the fuck do I know?